So yeah, hello everyone. So before entering the subject, let me introduce myself. I'm Paul. I'm a software engineer at Dashlane, an app which helps you remember and manage your passwords in a secure way. So they have offices in Lisbon, Paris, and New York. So if you want to try it out, the first ones to use the code QueerJS gets 6 months of premium for free. Now let's enter the hot subject and let's reverse engineer dating apps. So welcome to online dating. If you've never used online dating apps, most of the popular apps show you a bunch of profiles with some photos, a description, and a distance, which can be useful to know if the person is in the same city. So 2 years ago, we were chilling in my Dublin flat with a friend, Matisse, and we thought, hey, if we have someone's distance, can we use it to triangulate the person precisely, for instance? So today we'll talk about what's possible to do with Grindr, then Tinder, and how can we mitigate this kind of risk, and why does this matter? Indeed, if we know the exact distance of a person, we can know exactly that they are in a circle around us. So that means that if we move and we get another distance, we can know that the person is in a second circle. So there are only two possible positions for this person. And if we move again, then there's only one position possible because we have a third circle, and that's how triangulation works. So if we, by moving and reading the position on a dating app, we can indeed get the position of a profile, whether it's where they live, work, or if they are at their friends. And we were not the first to do this experiment and to think about this. So knowing that, we should think that we should never give an exact distance to the user, because then they can locate you. So have you ever heard of Grindr? I am sure most of you have heard of Grindr. So Grindr is a popular dating app for gay men, bi, trans, and queers. Used by, in 2017, it was 30 million people in the world, so I guess it's more nowadays. And this screenshot is from the safe for work version of Grindr, where photos are replaced with folders. But basically, when you use Grindr, you see a grid of users around you with information about them, optionally their HIV status, their preferred position, their Instagram profile, and more importantly, the precise distance of this user. This precise distance can be hidden. It's hidden by a third of the user, but still the distance showed profiles are ranked by distance. So I really simply opened the developer tools in this web version and copied two interesting requests in Postman and then in Python, and discovered that two really simple requests are useful. The first one lists the profiles around you while updating your current position, and the second one gives information about a user, and it's as simple as that. So you call the first one, you get a list of profiles around the location, and you move your location at the same time. And you call the second request, and you know the information about the user, including its distance. It's as simple as that, and you'll see it's naturally rate limited. So the information you get with the second request is the profile ID, but also the name, the age, the HIV status, last time you checked the app, the photos, the social media profiles, like most of the information you can see. And the distance is precise to 10 centimeters. So that's maybe really precise for no reason. And it's really easy to understand. Like in just a few minutes, I opened the web app and I checked what happened. And I got the request to know everything about everyone in Grindr. So it's as simple as that, and we did a lot of tests before hitting a rate limit, which I think is 35 calls per request per 15 minutes. It's to be verified, but it looked like 35 calls per request per 15 minutes, which lets you do a lot of things. Which means you can easily draw a map of someone's daily activity, or in a city, it's 35 requests is enough to do a lot of things. In the requests, I don't remember, but the parameter to give the location is a geohash, which is interesting. A geohash is basically starts with a letter, which gives you a letter or a number, which gives you a rough position around the world. And then if you add a second letter, you have a rough position in this particular square in the world. And the more letters you add, the more precise you are. So in Grindr, Grindr used 12 cars, which is a 3 centimeters accuracy. So I guess the GPS is less precise than 3 centimeters. So basically, you're sending your exact distance. So in a live recently with my friends Mathis and Clément, who own a channel called H25, it's a French channel, we did this reverse engineering and wrote a Python script to locate a user by user ID in just a few minutes. It was super quick. So, just know it's really easy to know your new location. Every time you open the app, your location is updated, and it's really easy for any script kiddie to get your location then. If your friends don't hesitate to have a look at H25, they are doing a live once every 2 days during the quarantine. A few days ago, I joined them to build a VR app on the web. They are doing fun stuff. So even worse with Grindr. Until recently, the position was shared with 8 third parties alongside other information without even SSL, HTTPS. They were sharing the HIV, even the HIV status to 2 people. So there are more information on this link. I'll share the slides later. But yeah, it's really worrying that they were sharing all that to third parties without even HTTPS. And it didn't feel like they cared about GDPR, because it took a lot of complaints for them to actually apply GDPR. GDPR is enforced since last year, but they had a ban from Mopub and complaints. Mopub is Twitter's ad agency, and they banned Tinder because they didn't respect GDPR. They had a lot of complaints, and at some point they finally enforced it, but it took a lot of time. So it looks like they don't really care about your privacy. No, let's see if Tinder has better builds. We can dig into the API the same way by looking at Chrome's developer tool and realize that the distance is given there precise to the miles, whether your app is in kilometers or miles. We can see there's a birth date, which is not the exact birth date. Maybe it was at some point, but it's good they didn't just share the birth date. So 2 years ago, Mathis came to see me, as I said at the beginning, in Dublin to experiment it, and we didn't hit any rate limits. But unlike Grindr, you can teleport to another city only once every 5 minutes, which is nice that they have some kind of limits. Though you can do many small moves, which is enough to triangulate someone. Then the accuracy is 1 mile, which should not allow us to triangulate someone in theory. Or does it? Because if someone is this cute little imposter at the center, when we're in the blue circle, we'll see them at 1 mile. Then when we're in the yellow circle, we can see them at 2 miles. And in the red circle, we could see them at 3 miles. So basically, in theory, you can find a point at exactly 2 miles with a simple dichotomy and use that to triangulate the user. Well, It's not what really happens. Here's a map of Dublin. I was hiding somewhere. Actually, I was in my flat. And we moved a fake profile to find me. And we had only this square. And if I moved slightly to another place near my flat, these squares were at the exact same position. So yeah, the world is divided into cells. So in red, it was my my flat in Dublin, and in this whole kind of square, wherever I move in this whole kind of square wouldn't change anything about the distances shown. The precision is 0.015 degrees, which is 1 mile at the equator, which is why the more north you go, the smaller it is, this 0.015 degrees. So, but it's roughly a mile per less than a mile. So it's great. It's really great they did that. You may probably track at what time I'm home and at what time I'm at work, because I used to work just in the other side of the river, the Liffey. So you could probably deduce that, but and even if we didn't match, you can deduce that. But other than that, it feels way better than Grindr. But Grindr wouldn't be Grindr if it had this 1 mile accuracy. So how can we protect privacy while maintaining a perfect UX? This is a big question. And the answer is, I won't lie, you can't. Either you give the user a chance to connect with very close profiles, which leaks your position, or you give the user a better privacy. However, there are a few ideas you can use to mitigate the risks if you're building the next dating app, if you're building the next popular dating app. First off, as I said earlier, we were not the first to play with this, and we discovered that Tinder used to give the GPS coordinates straight from the API, and they decided to fix it and to give them the exact distance like Grindr, which makes it less straightforward. And then they did this version where the world is divided into cells. So by keeping the same user experience, they still improved and mitigated the risk. And yes, we can still track people on Tinder, but it's harder. Another idea would be to Another idea would be to rate limit teleportations. You can visit 35 cities in 1 second, or even move to 3 locations 2 miles apart in 1 second, and not be a bot. So they could leverage that to detect bots. When someone is far, just send a wrench. You would need more requests than to locate people around the globe. And I don't think the user experience would be that bad. That would be great to offer a way to use it with a rough position instead of simply hiding the distance. It's really easy to deduce the distance. Here in this example, Vietnamese is 4 or 5 meters away, even if he hit this distance. And even outside a dense city, you can do a dichotomy to find the distance. So for instance, you can create 2 fake profiles which would try to go around the user until you find the distance, even if the user hit his distance. So it gives a false sense of security. It's easy to deduce it. While something they could have offered is to give the ability to give rough position, like a position, random position 1 kilometer from where you are, which would be always the same position, so that it would be harder to deduce where you are. And it's a bit sad that they don't even offer the option. Security through obscurity, which really is risks mitigation more than security. The idea is to make the API unreadable for someone like me. It wouldn't stop, for instance, governments with an interest in it, but would probably stop script kiddies like me. For instance, Spotify and Deezer can't really stop us from downloading MP3 files. We could even just record it from the computer. But they just use some random encryption algorithms with some random keys to make it not as easy as opening the Chrome console. Some people manage to reverse engineering it, but it's not obvious at all. So here, instead of sending this JSON, they could have sent a base 64 encrypted version of it with letters instead of names. And maybe they could have used the random encryption algorithm, and I would have abandoned the process. But yeah, it only slows down the reverse engineering process and does not stop it. And we could automate a browser to get the distances without having to understand the APIs. Actually, sorry, to understand the APIs. Actually, we could even obfuscate the class names, etc., to make it harder to automate a browser. It's, for instance, what Facebook and Instagram do. They use random class names and no obvious ID to make it really hard to automate a browser. And Facebook and Instagram are really good. They use most of these devices. They're really good at avoiding this kind of scrapping. So if you want to mitigate the risk of a privacy leak, you could also improve rate limiting. So it's also something I was surprised by when I tried to reverse engineer Instagram. They did this and it really annoyed me. They had a rate limit, I guess, like 3 requests per second, 5 per minute, 60 per hour, etc. And so I had to end up putting some sleeps everywhere, and at the end, I didn't get it really working, and I abandoned because it was really hard to know what these rate limits were, and they could evolve, and I couldn't do as much requests as I wanted to do. And as I say, they also use many of these previous advices. I think since Cambridge Analytica, Facebook's really worked hard on making sure we can't easily scrap every profile. Then, to detect fake clients, you have Google reCAPTCHA v3. I'm not happy to advertise a commercial solution, but I didn't know of any other more obvious, more open alternative. So reCAPTCHA v3, unlike reCAPTCHA v1 and 2, they don't show a challenge to the user, but gives a rating out of 10, actually a rating between 0 and 1. If the rating is low, the user behaves like a bot, and you should probably send them an SMS or ask them to solve a challenge or reset their password or lower your rate limits. But there are obviously false positives, because sometimes when you're in private browsing, you can have a low score because, for instance, things that can improve your score is being connected to your Google account, obviously. And a critique we can make is that I think some Firefox users complains to have more CAPTCHA challenges than Chrome users because Google leveraged their position to tag more Chrome users as real users. Then you have iOS device check and Android safety nets, which send you a key to ensure that the requests come from your unmodified app on a real unrooted device or unjailbreaked device. But as the name states, and like all these advices, it's only a safety net. You should still have rate limits, etc., just in case. But still, it is really harder to make a fake request with a safety net or iOS device check. And finally, as I said earlier, you can challenge the user when there are doubts. For instance, a bit before hitting the rate limit, or when there's a low score with Google reCAPTCHA, or when you have a doubt for any other reason. And that's way more painful to reverse engineer with this. And again, Instagram, when you're close to rate limit, they don't just make you wait. They ask you a random challenge, and they have many different kind of challenges. It can be sending an SMS or tagging the friends you know, or CAPTCHAs, or just resetting your password, which makes it even more pain than just making you wait. Just a mini bonus about privacy risks. There are services online to search yourself by images, and PimEyes is a free one that used to work really well, and I guess got some complaints. But before, when I tried it, any random webcam picture of me showed me my old meetup.com photo where I feel I look different, and still it found every time my meetup.com photos. But I think meetup.com photos are not anymore in PimEyes. But it still works really well with some of my friends. You can try it out. And so if there's this free tool that helps you link any random picture to a social profile, I'm sure there are paid solutions. There are ways to find your Twitter, Facebook, Instagram from your dating app profiles via your photos. So yeah, I guess paid solutions and governments can easily do that. And that's really impressive and worrying. Like when I tried the first time, I was just shocked. So why is this important? A few examples. Alexandre Benalla, our French President Emmanuel Macron's security officer, was dating on Tinder, sending exclusive selfies of him with the president to random people. So he could have leaked the president's location to other countries if he went secretly to some places with him. And maybe these kind of people don't realize the risk they take by using an everyday app like that. Strava, a fitness tracking app, leaked all their users' locations recently, which helped discover on map secret army bases thanks to the itinerary of some soldiers. So if you can't trust any app on your phone, it makes it harder to keep any secret. Maybe you don't have any secret today, but maybe tomorrow you will have some, and then it will become a burden to keep these secrets if there are a lot of privacy leaks that you didn't care about before. And then you can imagine, because it's really simple, a freak could take someone's photo on the subway, find his dating profile thanks to tools like PimEyes, and then find where he lives, where he works, goes, and just see their itinerary, because it's super simple and it looks like Grindr didn't care at all about protecting this information. And there are many reasons why we should all care about privacy, even if you have nothing to hide. And there's this quote, it's a bit cheesy for ending a presentation, but there's this quote from Edward Snowden that I like, arguing that you don't care about the right to privacy because you have nothing to hide is no different than saying you don't care about free speech because you have nothing to say. So basically, even if you're not fighting for privacy for yourself, you have to fight for privacy for everyone that may have to use this privacy. Since I see maybe another anecdote, since I see I have a bit of time, there was debate. I think Caroline Xavier on Twitter shared that there was an OkCupid kind of leak. Some researcher, OkCupid is another dating app where you reply to questions like political questions or personal questions. And so some researchers thought it was public information because it was available, and they decided to make a big data set of, I think, millions of profiles with their age, their first name, their sexual orientation, and the answers to all these questions. And they thought it could be useful for researchers to say, oh, people at that age have these political preferences, or people with these sexual orientations have these thoughts. But it created a big debate, because even if this information is kind of public, people that shared it, people that replied to these questions on OkCupid didn't mean to share it to the public and didn't thought it as public information. So at the end, I think OkCupid did a copyright claim to stop them. Yeah, it's like the researcher thought they were not doing a bad thing, because they thought all this information you share via dating app were basically public information, because it's so easy to get them and to get your position, etc. But I think people don't really realize that, so that's not really ethical to consider it as public information. So thank you very much. I don't know if you have any questions. Don't hesitate to follow also my friends Mathis Hamel and Clément Hamel that helped me with these experiments and these slides, and also many colleagues at Dashlanes gave me hints and advices. So yeah, I don't know if you have any questions in the chat.
I'm bringing you a bit of warm. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was great. I'll wait a bit for the chat, for questions. I think it was really interesting. Personally, it was really interesting. I personally threw out OkCupid when I saw the link shared by Karine Xavier, and I digged a bit into it, and I found that the head of that research was a far-right extremist and like expert in racism and eugenetics topics. Yeah, so yeah, I absolutely.
What a surprise!
Yeah, and I was so scared because I jumped again into OkCupid like recently, and as I jumped in, it asked me a lot of questions, and I said, okay, I'm gonna answer because I wanna find my match. And when I read the article, I was scared. So yeah.
I see there's a question from Rin Ray. Paul, has this changed how you are using dating apps?
Yeah.
I definitely I'm more suspicious of Grindr. I just feel like, I think I use less and less Grindr, and I just know that the company doesn't care about the privacy, and at least Tinder tries to do something, even if it's not perfect. But yeah, I know that if I go to a secret location, I won't open Tinder or Grindr, for instance.
Do you want to say that you work with Emmanuel Macron? Is that you're trying to say?
Yeah, maybe. That's a secret. Everyone has his secrets.
We have another question from Aurin. Any thoughts on Facebook dating?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. I don't like the company Facebook, but they are good at protecting since there were big issues with Cambridge Analytica scraping everyone's profile to target people to change their individual opinions. They really use a lot of stuff to avoid mass scrapping of data. So that was a good move. I don't know if these techniques were applied to Facebook dating, but yeah, otherwise, don't okay, maybe there won't be a leak of data, but they will probably reuse it to do targeted advertising or to make you more addicted to your phone, because if they know who are your crush, they will be able to play with it and show these profiles first. And so I don't know, I'm mitigated about it, but I'm not an expert on the subject. So yeah, I just don't trust Facebook with using this data wisely, but I trust them a bit more with protecting them against external people. I don't think they will share it without HTTPS to 8 other providers. I think they will keep the data for themselves.
And we have a question about Dashlane. How is it like to work at Dashlane by Mathis? I think it's one of your...
I think he knows, because well, it's Mathis, but yeah, it's great. We have some time. We have some like half a day every week in my team to try to do some technical ramp up, which is things that help us learn, etc. And I like the fact that learning is really important, and that a lot of people helped me with this presentation. I don't know, from my manager Dennis, to the people team, to the security team who talked to me about safety nets, which I didn't know well. So, but yeah, Matisse is a bit of a troll, I guess.
Okay. So if there is any other question, I think, Paul-Louis, you are on the Discord server. And you folks can ask question, can keep asking question on the online channel, and Paul-Louis will be there to answer. Okay,
Yeah,
so thank you,
Thank you, Paola. Thank you.